Welcome to Music and Medicine. Welcome to Music and Medicine.
Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis.
Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis. I am excited and so delighted to be joined by not only my cousin, Estee Bullock, but I mean, one of the greatest songwriters, certainly that I know. And he's ASCAP certified, so he's got the credentials to back it up. Been in the world of gospel for more than a minute, going on a few decades now. And Estee, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much, fam. What's going on, Moshe?
Exactly.
Dr. Moshe.
Exactly. Nothing like family. Yeah, our show is called Music and Medicine. And when we talk about the music part, we kind of like to go back into time a little bit. Tell us about how you got started in music just as a beginning, and then certainly picked your genre to be gospel.
Well, my beginning in music definitely started in church. As a little kid, my parents, my mom, my grandmother, they brought me up in church, and I sang in the kids choir and grew up kind of just singing in the young adult choir, and then went to, by this time I'm in middle school, and in middle school, I started learning about the community choirs and groups in the community that was singing gospel music. And somewhere along that time, I ran into who was then just Hezekiah Walker, who we now know to be Bishop Hezekiah Walker. So to make a very, very long story short, I began singing with the Love Fellowship Crusade Choir when I was a teenager. By the time I got in high school, I was with that choir, and I've been a part of that choir ever since. So that was my intro into gospel music, and that's how I got into the music industry, through that choir.
Right. And were there some greats even along the way that really have inspired you? Because I know you're a songwriter, and that's not somebody that we meet every day, that kind of just really have helped you to continue not only to create, but to continue to feel really encouraged to, come at it from a different angle, or have an insight into sound that is just amazing to you.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, I grew up listening to the OJs, the Hawkins, Stevie Wonder, Donny Hathaway, Richard Smallwood, Daryl Coley, if you would, Thomas Whitfield, so I had a wide array of music that I heard growing up. Believe it or not, singing with the Crusade Choir with Bishop Walker, that exposed me to literally like big names in gospel music while we were doing concerts and on programs with these people. So I got to see up front, them in action and how they did what they did. And it's a blessing that I had that opportunity to do that and be exposed to that, because I'm more than sure that is what helped shape me into the writer that I'm in today. I didn't start writing until I got in high school. And when I got in high school, it really kind of took off. My first song that I ever placed was with Bishop Hezekiah Walker's church choir. And so that was in 2001. So that was how I got my start in the industry as a writer. But I would say that's how I got groomed into it, by the music I heard, listening to it growing up, and then by the exposure that I had by being in the industry, singing with the choir.
Absolutely. And I too had a small, nowhere near as auspicious amount of time with a choir, but it was a second family, a delight. We laughed, we played, we joked, we dated.
Exactly.
We got in trouble together, passed notes, and really wound up, and for so many of us, to be such a great way to stay out of trouble. And also learn about the Lord. There must have been a moment, perhaps, that you remember where you really figured, okay, this is not just somewhat of a hobby. People really believe that this song that I wrote, and I know from being touched that it really is something that could be special. Tell us about that, or if you can recollect sort of the feeling and what happened, the circumstances that had okay, I am definitely writing music that others can sing as opposed to music that I just sing?
So for me, that experience came through writing with my high school choir. The choir started in high school, a bunch of young teenagers. Believe it or not, we didn't sing a lot of covers by other choirs. I myself, Jules Bartholomew, if you're familiar with Jules, from out of New York, we actually were writing together and creating the music that we taught. Literally, we would sing these songs, and the young people would come to me after rehearsals and say things like, I can't stop singing this song. We rehearsed it all day that day, and I went home singing it, and I'm walking around the house, and my parents are like, what are you singing? Why do you keep singing that song? And, people be like, well, this is what I learned in rehearsal. And things like that kind of followed my journey as I grew older, that I was writing songs. I guess in the back of my mind, I really wanted to make sure that I was writing songs for people. But truthfully, as a young writer, I was just excited that I could write, and that I could write something that people could sing along to. As I grew older, I realized that what I was doing and the gift that God had given me, it was not just for me. It was for others. It was for the world. It was for the people that would sing it, and other people would hear the songs. It became real to me in 2008 when 2007 when we recorded Sold Out, which would become the very first #1 song recorded by Bishop Hezekiah Walker, and one of the biggest albums for him to ever make. And I watched churches sing this music all over the world. All over the world, I would see videos on social media of people just posting videos of their churches singing it. And then you would see churches in Japan and Indonesia of choirs singing this song, something that I wrote. And man, fam, let me tell you, when I wrote the song, I honestly wrote the song for my church choir. I didn't even write the song to submit it for the album. I wrote the song for my church choir, and the rest was history.
Sure. Well, let's take a moment, because that's an excellent setup, and take a listen to Sold Out, written by our guest here, Estee Bullock, for Hezekiah Walker and the Love Fellowship Crusade. Let's take a listen. All right, so you're here and you are touring the world, and just talk to us about sort of that experience and how it really, I'm from Brooklyn too, and we grew up together for a minute, how it really sort of expanded your eyes and maybe even some of your inspiration for your writing.
So traveling with the choir and traveling, doing music, even when I started doing music independently, and I was able to go from state to state. I used to even do workshops and seminars on worship and worship music. It was the most amazing experience, because while I learned the differences in different areas and states and countries that I was traveling to perform and minister this music, I also learned the similarities and how we could be so far apart but still have so many things in common. And so that was amazing for me. I always tell people that church and music makes the world so much smaller. I wound up going to Berklee College of Music in Massachusetts back in '96. And, that school actually caters to students that come in from all over the country and different countries. Right. And so meeting those students and working with those students and sharpening my skills and my craft, it actually taught me so much about how to be diverse in my writing, how to be open to different sounds and styles, even as I'm creating music, and not to be boxed into one particular sound. And so, it was great for me. It was great for me. It was a journey that I'll never, ever forget. I'm actually working with my kids now. Both of my kids are musically inclined. My oldest is a singer. My youngest is a drummer and can also sing, so it's amazing.
Sure. Set us up for a second song, and this one may be a little different, where you may have changed your style or your approach, but likewise, it was picked up by maybe one of the artists that you say, you know, I know you've written for other people as well, and that they were interested in taking and recording. What might that song be?
So this next song I would like to talk about is called Church Boy. I released Church Boy on my latest EP. The name of the EP is called No Harm. And we could talk about how that came about. No Harm is an EP that I did that my writing changed intentionally from just being songs for people to sing along to actually creating songs that were cinematic. So you could literally hear every song on the project and see yourself in the scenarios of the song and put yourself in the scenarios of the song, whether it was to sing along to it or whether it was to close your eyes and envision what I'm singing about. And this particular song, Church Boy, was recorded on that project. And Church Boy is about, man, you know, I've watched so many people over the last couple of years that were not really the church guys that you would normally see, just express their love for God. And I'm talking about Steve Harvey, Kanye West, Devon Franklin. There's so many, you know, there are people that are in industries, even football players and NBA players that are not in the regular industries that you would see people suited up to go to church and talking about Bible study and choir rehearsal and Sunday morning, you know. But now, if you look at their social media posts, everybody's talking and expressing their love for God. And these are the guys that you didn't normally think, you know, would be associated with church. Rappers, really? You got DJ Khaled and Pharrell and so many others, and Snoop Dogg making a gospel album, you know? So I started thinking, and I was like, yo, I want to talk about this. And so I wrote this song called Church Boy, and it's just talking about, look, it's all right if you love the Lord. Let them know that you love them, and let them know that you're a church boy. You know, these people, they grew up, they had grandmothers, they had mothers or parents that reared them in church. And maybe somewhere along the way, they went and did something different, but they never forgot where they came from. They never forgot, you know, to give thanks to the one above, you know? And so that's what came about this song called Church Boy.
Excellent. What a great setup. All right, let's take a listen.
All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. We're redefining the folklore. Look around, everybody is a church boy. Yeah. Not just a typical preacher altar boy. Your favorite rapper on that stage is a church boy. Yeah. And yeah, we know Kirk Franklin is a church boy. Motivation, Jesus quotes from Ciroc boy. Yeah. He grow that cannabis from Long Beach and love the Lord. NBA, NFL, Hall of Fame boys. Said it's alright if you love the Lord. Let them know that you love them, you're a church boy. She want a man and got a list of things she's looking for. She wanna be like making good and get a church boy. Yeah. She wanna know, do you have goals that you're reaching for? When times get hard, will that turn you into a prayer warrior? Yeah. Medea, Tyler Perry, both of them a church boy. Steve Harvey, yes indeed, that's a church boy. Yeah. They got money and things they work hard for, because their mama taught them how to be a church boy. And it's alright if you love the Lord. Let them know that you love them, you're a church boy. They in the gym and on the court, but you can't tell. Look closer, cause the word is in the detail. Yeah. They post the scriptures that they heard over the pulpit. We treat them crazy cause we think that they don't read it. Yeah. Jonas Brothers, Justin Bieber, them some church boys. Devon Franklin always praying, making church noise. Yeah. And who are we to judge who can be a church boy? Many carve a few are chosen that love the Lord. It's alright if you love the Lord. Let them know that you love them, you're a church boy.
pick up on this element you said, because I think it's very easy for us, even in the church, to be quick to throw criticism. And often we've talked about different elements of this with guests, because there can often be a tremendous pull. The church kind of wants to protect and shelter its own and really not have them go into the secular world because of the fears and some of the vices that we see. Yet when people do and come back, sometimes there's not always complete acceptance. Conversely, when it seems that, oh, that person was in the secular world and boy, were they in the secular world, I don't really think I could. Talk to us about the challenge that we in the church, we can always talk about people outside, but that we in the church sometimes are torn with our own sense of hypocrisy and maybe being a little bit too judgmental when we really, you can't fully know. We're not really the ones to judge. And just talk to us a little bit about your element of that, because I think that some of those people that you mentioned, the fact that some people may find it ironic is sometimes our own challenge, our own little dirt that we keep inside.
One thing I've noticed is that we have put a stigma or an expectation, I guess, on men and women in ministry and in Christianity, that you must be like this, you must talk like this, you must look like this, you must walk like this and behave like this, and a lot of people aligns that with religion and things that are just like very binding and confining. But the thing is, God is free. God is freedom. Christianity is freedom. We are free in Christ, right? And there are so many people that, if you think about it, they grew up in church, but their passion was not just ministry, right? Their passion was not just ministry. And so in order for them to pursue their passion, still love God, but be who God called them to be, which may be different than the preacher and the elder, right? They had to go after that passion and that divine calling on their life. When you think about it, look, the guys that we love that's on the field playing NFL, right? If they spent all their time in church and their Bible study, they would have missed the practices. Right. That one day would lead them to the NFL, from Little League to the NFL. If they never made basketball practice and never joined a basketball team, they wouldn't be the NBA players they are today, right? Look, let's use you for an example. You love the Lord. You was reared up in church, right? But look, what would have happened if you never studied medicine? Right. So there was something that you had to do. You wouldn't be Dr. Moshe Lewis, And so you had to love God and go after what you were most passionate about. And the blessing in that is it allows you to go into different arenas, different settings, sit at different tables and share and show your love for God, where most other people in Christianity probably would never be, right? And so there's a strong possibility that the audience that was made for you wasn't made for me. So you shouldn't have to do what I do, because you have to be who God made you to be so you can reach who he wants you to reach. And so, I'm just big on that. And I'm going to tell you, man, if you don't mind, I want to talk about COVID. Both my wife and I, we were diagnosed with COVID in March of 2020. And it was the most unreal but real experience that I've ever experienced in my life. And it was harder for my wife because my wife has asthma. And so, we had to get through that. Wow. At the same time, we're looking at people on the news that are dying and losing their lives. Wow. We had to get through it, and we weren't confined to a hospital. We were confined to our home. Thank God our home is spacious enough that we were able to be quarantined from our kids, but still in the house. My children, one was a preteen and one was a teenager, had to learn to cook for themselves. had to learn how to fend for themselves because my wife and I were confined to our bedroom that had a bathroom on the inside, and they didn't want us to be around our children. And, you know, when COVID first hit, the quarantine was real. Like, they didn't want you around nobody.
No, right. People took it more seriously. And there was so much we didn't even know and understand.
And so my children couldn't go anywhere because they were already exposed to us. Right. So we were praying that they didn't have it, right, and praying that they could make it. It was the most, unbelievable experience ever. However, God brought us through it. And one of the things that I vowed, there's another song on my EP called Be Better that I wrote. And that's on the No Harm EP, but that also came from that whole experience. I vowed that after we came through COVID and we came through negative and we got our health back to where we could function and almost got back to normalcy, I vowed that I would never go back to being the same. I would never go back to being the same. I would never go back to thinking the same. Even as far as the expectations I had on other people, you know, I vowed that I would be more fair to others and allow them to be who they needed to be, not based on my expectation, but based on who they are, you know, because everybody deserves that. And so I'm telling you, man, I look at things much differently now. I'm so glad to still be here. There are still people that are suffering with this this disease and this virus that's going around. So I'm still very prayerful and hopeful that more people will make it out like we did. But in the meantime, for those of us that are still here, we have to love. We have to live a life of love. We have to live a life of fairness. We have to live a life of being open to just new things. And another thing, we can't live with limitations no more. Everything you think and want to do, you know, that is with integrity and with good intention, you have to do it. You have to do it. There's a reason why that's a thought in your mind. It's a reason why. It's because you have to do it. You have to fight. Don't even hesitate. Don't second guess it. Don't second guess it.
Don't delay. Don't procrastinate. All those things.
At all.
Yeah, no, you give such a poignant message. And I think that certainly having an experience like that really does not only test your faith, but also test your health and challenges your ability to function as a father and to do some of the work that you do, really can be inspiring. I know, tell us a little bit about the fact that you now have sort of almost taken sort of like a mentorship approach. I've seen some of the stuff you've been doing on social media with sort of helping others to learn how to really get better at their writing and being able to actually put in some of the key elements that can make their songs certainly more excellent than they already may be.
One of the things that I said that I definitely have to do in my time here is I wanted to create an apprenticeship, right, for songwriters and artists and performers that are young or even older, but just aspiring to get into that or to do that and conquer that, you know, if you would. And I'm not financially to the point where I'm able to do it on a big scale, like have a building where I do this with people and I can intentionally teach people these methods and practices. But I talked to a friend of mine about that I wanted to do, and how could I do it with where we are now with social media, with people kind of being alienated and not really able to be around each other as much as we were before. And I was like, I have an idea to do something. And he was just like, yo, like I just said, do it. Do it. He said, S, just go, just do it. Go on social media and do it. And literally, I created something called ST's Power of the Pen that I do every Tuesday night live on IG. And it has blown my mind because about 26 episodes in now, I've been able to bring people on to share their experiences, share their journey, share their practices and their methods on how they create music, how they create and produce music as performers, and even just experiences of what caused them to write the songs that they wrote, and just, you know, their backgrounds. And it's been so inspiring to so many people. I've had several text messages after the shows, letting me know, how grateful people are to see it and hear it. And they're thankful for the information. And I'm just really glad that I'm able to start it this way. I still want to do the apprenticeships. But for right now, this is my way of giving back. I feel like, I'm what they call now agents of change. Right. Yeah, I'm a change agent.
1, 2, 3.
talk to us a little bit about maybe just some pearls in working with a few of the other artists that you might give as tips to others, just in terms of being able to have a sense of what might work for that artist, or working with them, the level of professionalism and what you bring to the table. Because so many times, just like we spoke about our inspirations, we all have people that we so look up to. It sometimes it could potentially be intimidating or paralyzing, and the ability to really be able to not only come up with a song, but figure out what artists it might be good for, or approach them, with a song is certainly not something always is the easiest to do. Just talk to us a little bit about maybe 2 or 3 mini experiences you may have had with a few artists where things were able to catalyze and turn into a song that they liked.
So I was blessed to work with a few artists, particularly gospel artists, major artists in the industry, like Bishop Hezekiah Walker, who is over a choir. I've worked with Dwayne Woods, who's a solo artist. I worked with Maurette Brown Clark, who's a female gospel artist, but also a solo artist. And even Jonathan Nelson, Ricky Dillard. I've been able to write for these people. And if you know anything about their music, while they're all major, they all have a distinct different sound. Yeah. And the blessing in working for these different people, what it taught me is how to be open to create for people that come from a different perspective. While the message is still the same, they're all singing and promoting the message of gospel and the story of Jesus Christ. They're all coming from different angles. And so me being able to write for them and being able to play songs with them, it taught me how to write from different angles, whether it's a big song for a choir, or whether it's a song for praise and worship for like Maurette Brown Clark, or whether it's a song for a solo artist, maybe for like Roller Skate Night, by Dwayne Woods, and these are the things you have to think in mind. Is like, when you're writing, are you writing the song for Sunday morning? Are you writing this song for people to have to listen to while they're driving? Are you writing this song for maybe film and television? A song that could possibly make it into film and TV. I never even imagined that a song that I would write would be included in a gospel competition and used in a McDonald's commercial. Sold Out was a very, very big song. And I have to say this as well. I have a co-writer by the name of Nathan McNair who helped me write that song as well. And all of these experiences and opportunities and blessings taught me how to be open to be more creative and expound my creativity and not be boxed in. Don't be afraid to collaborate, whether it's with a writer or whether it's a producer. If you have your sound, if you have something that maybe it was birthed through you and you're sharing it with some other people, and you feel like it's a safe place where you can share it and build together, definitely do it. But even if you try and it doesn't work, it's not a loss. It's a lesson. So now you know what could possibly happen if you try that, and do you want to do that again? All of it. Let me tell you something. Nothing is a loss. Nothing is a loss. Everything is a lesson. Make sure you get the lesson out of every experience, out of every experience.
And that might be a good setup for a song. Is there one that you can share with us where you may have shelved it, or it may have sat for a while, or incubated over a long period of time, or you thought that this wasn't even something somebody had heard or wanted to use and pulled it, and something that essentially, I don't want to use the word throw away because there's really no such thing as totally throwing it away, but it wound up blossoming at a better time or in a better situation or for a different artist than you might have initially intended?
So there's a song that I wrote called Hand of the Lord. And initially I wrote this song for a local choir around where I live in New Jersey. That was doing it as a church choir. They were recording the song, and they asked me for some material. And so I wrote this song called Hand of the Lord, and they recorded it. And, it did really well, locally, like people, the radio stations, the AM station was playing it, and people heard the song and they liked it, right? And then there was another artist, a solo artist, who was also an independent local artist, who heard the song and was like, I want to record that song. Like, what do I need to do? And we went through, figuring out how we can get him to record the song, and he recorded the song. Excuse me, I'm sorry. He recorded the song. Well, maybe 3 or 4 months later, it maybe longer than that, I get a text from Ricky Dillard. And Ricky says, ST, I want to talk to you about a song you wrote. And I'm like, okay, what song is it? And he says, Hand of the Lord by this particular choir. And I was like, really? And he was like, he calls me nephew. He was like, nephew, I want that song. And I was like, okay. And so, here, I wrote this song. I didn't doubt the potential of it, but I didn't shop it to anybody else. I actually wrote it for this local choir, not even thinking that it would do what it did. And then here I get a call from a major international gospel artist asking me for this song because they heard it recorded by somebody else. I didn't submit a demo. I didn't shop it through nobody. I didn't ask them to play it for anybody, but another artist heard this song because I allowed somebody else to record it, and then eventually started recording the song. He recorded the song, and the song was on one of his biggest albums, and it was led by one of the Mary Marys, Tina Campbell, on his album. And so that was like a wow moment. Like, what if I would have never gave that song to that choir? What if I would have said, I don't think I have anything, and I would have passed up on that moment? That would have been connected to a bigger opportunity that I didn't even see coming.
I love it. Well, I mean, there couldn't be a better setup for a song. I mean, you've captured all of it. And I think that's sort of the excitement, but also the hidden pearl. It's like a seed that you plant and you don't necessarily know the potential. And it's not always about only working with the biggest of the artists or only being able to make a sale on every possible project that you work on, but sort of going where the Spirit needs you to create, and then let time and the Lord create. So with that, we'll listen to
All Facts.
Hand of the Lord. I love it. Kind of fully ignite this topic that we're getting to is the challenges. We know that everybody and feel so inspired that you were comfortable to share your story about going through COVID. We feel like people can't bring that out enough, especially if it's something they've been through, so that there's not so much fear. But there'll be other challenges in stormy days that people face. And what is some of the types of things that you do or that you find are encouraging? Because we all can get down or overrun or super busy or feel overwhelmed. And certainly being in the music business at any level can be intimidating. What are some of your not only sources of strength, but just maybe a couple of little tips or things that you do to help pull through when things may not seem to be going the way that you may have expected?
So one thing that I've learned by some challenges that I've gone through, particularly COVID, but even some challenges even in the music industry, is to really establish genuine and honest relationships with people and organizations and encounters with people that you probably wouldn't normally see or normally meet. Make sure that however you leave those people, that you leave them feeling like this was a genuine encounter and that this was divine. And the reason why I say that is because, honestly, when you're going through challenges, if you don't have the right people around you, if you don't have the right support to be there for you or to be ready to jump in to help and be there to help restore you, it's going to make it harder. It's going to make it harder. When we went through COVID, thank God I had the support of family, even my church family, that was doing things like leaving things on our doorstep, bags of food for our kids, bags of food and things that they felt like we needed that, they could help out in any way possible, right? And then I had prayers. I had people that were praying for us that, were praying that we got through it and we made it through it. And those things, no, it's not financial, no, it's not materialistic, but it helped. It helped. And even knowing that people were there to be there to support you, that I think helped build our strength back up when we were going through the COVID experience. When you're going through challenges like that in the music industry or any industry, even in your career profession, the pursuit of your careers, that's what you need as well. You need the support of people that can help talk you back into motivating, like help motivate you and encourage you back to what your focus and your goal initially was. Because we're all going to ride that roller coaster, you know, as creators and as professionals, where we feel like, what in the world am I doing? You know, and this is not working the way I thought it would. And it's not happening as fast as I thought it would. But, you know, that's the process. That is the process. And if you are old enough and you've gone through it enough, you now know that that's a part of the process. So the helpful thing for me, and I think will be for anyone, is just making sure you have the right support system of people. And that will go a long way. That will go a long way. You'd be surprised how much that'll keep your head up.
Absolutely. Even your talk and your interviews are a ministry unto themselves. And we are so delighted to be joined today by Estee Bullock, ASCAP certified. He has written some of the biggest songs on the planet in the gospel industry, written for tons of top artists. And you've heard some of the names yourself, Hezekiah Walker, Darrell Coley, Ricky Dillard, just really simply an amazing career. And yet I appreciate your humility and not only willingness to talk to us, but to share what it was like, you know, going through COVID. And I think the take-home lesson for all of us is that when health challenges come up, whether they're blasted on the news or we sense something's not right, that you don't hesitate to get it worked out, get it figured out, to go see a doctor and get some advice. Don't try to go it alone, and don't try to ignore it, because these things come along, you know, for a reason. And definitely we want you to take them seriously. As you close out, Estee, do us a favor of giving us sort of one last song that really means a lot to you. I know probably so many do, and that you'd like to share with our listeners.
The song that I put on my project, on my EP, No Harm, the song Be Better. There's a line in the song that says, if you get a second chance at life, just have one purpose and one goal, and that is to be better than before. So that's that song I definitely would love to send out to everyone that will hear and see this interview, is that if you get a second chance, and we all have had second and third chances, be better.
Absolutely. Sure. I'll end on the words of one of my mentors, Ray Leonard Jr., who says, know better and do better. So we can certainly be better. And I think, as you were implying, these take-home lessons that we can take a experience, take a mistake, take a challenge, take even things having gone wrong that we did and may have played a part in, as an opportunity to do better, be better, and move even better and closer towards him. I often say we're imperfect people in an imperfect world seeking perfection, but we can continue each day to keep our minds, you know, steadfast on the Lord, and realize that we can always be better, as you say.
Amen.
Do better.
Amen.
The world can't do me no harm. Hey, 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 the world can't do me no harm. It's another day's journey and another day's journey and it's another day's journey and another day's journey and it's another day's journey and another day's journey and it's another day's journey and another day's journey and
much for joining us. It's such a pleasure, and it's so good. I mean, it's good because
thanks for having me, fam.
Exactly. Much love, and just the caring, the charisma. I can hear it in your voice. I hear it in your stewardship. I see it in your ministry and things of that nature. And I think it's also important. The other reason, as we close out, I just wanted to throw out there that reason why I like doing interviews like this is because I think sometimes people may not realize how important a whole cadre, and I know you have written all the songs for all the artists that we've mentioned and then some, but it's really a team and a village that even helps make a song great, or makes a song a hit, or makes a song special to somebody that may be sitting in that service and need that word. And I think highlighting all of the people involved in that process, from the producers to the sound mixers to your co-writer. And so that's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on, because I know you're not modest about, sharing the love and giving the credit.
That's right.
We wanted to do the same. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Welcome to Music and Medicine. Welcome to Music and Medicine. Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis.